My name is Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Dispatch.
I do. You're gonna do it. Do it really well.
And I believe the world needs more dispatchers.
Around in the mud, blood, and beer.
Years that I'm not working 4th of July. 4th of July.
Say community policing, right? What about community dispatch?
So on this show, with the help of my guests, we will educate, empower, and support the heroes behind the headset.
Right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here on Let's Talk Dispatch with me, Ashley, the Raspy Dispatcher. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I swear, especially since switching to day shift. So now that I'm on day shift, my days off are day shift hours as well. I just feel like there's not enough time in the day. There's not enough time in the day. We're already like 2 weeks into October, probably 3 weeks once this airs. You know, there's just not enough time to do all the many things we need to do. So if you're currently feeling that way, no, you are not alone. Know that time is not running out. It just feels like it, and you're doing enough. I promise you, it's something I constantly have to tell myself. If you haven't checked out the raspydispatcher.com lately, do so ASAP. We're doing a lot of updates there. I've said it a few times across the social media platforms. We're working on a lot of stuff in the background that's going to be coming out over the next year or so. So make sure to head to the raspydispatcher.com. Subscribe to our monthly newsletter if you don't already. We like to send out monthly updates there, especially with the new episodes of our podcast. So go there, sign up so you don't miss out on those monthly pushes. We're really trying to make sure folks are staying informed with all the great stuff we got going on here at the Raspy Dispatcher and with all of our partners. So speaking of partners, let's hear from our sponsors. Today's episode of Let's Talk Dispatch is proudly sponsored by Prepared. Their mission is to be public safety's most assistive technology. Revolutionizing how we handle emergencies, Prepared is dedicated to saving more lives and making our communities safer. Learn more about how Prepared is transforming emergency response at prepared911.com. Our next sponsor is Zybex Media. Since 2020, Zybex has been creating impactful recruitment films for their customers. Zybex Media offers their expertise, providing a full range of media solutions designed to attract and retain talent for all PSAPs. Visit zybex.com/media to learn more. These partnerships help us continue to spread the message that the world needs more dispatchers. Interested in partnering with us? Head to theraspydispatcher.com. As always, do make sure to check out our sponsors, because they're doing great stuff. We don't partner with anyone who isn't doing great things. So definitely check out both Zybex and Prepared's websites to check out the awesome things they're doing for our centers. It is spooky season. It is October. If you are deep in October, I already got at least 2 or 3 clown calls in the downtown area. So it is definitely that time of year. And our guest today is going to talk about some spooky stuff as well as some important things. So our guest today, Jeremy, is a dedicated firefighter and leader of Beyond the Badge Paranormal. With 18 years of experience in emergency services and their personal journey through mental health challenges, Jeremy is passionate about raising awareness on these important topics and sharing some spooky stories along the way. My guest today, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
and I
thanks
appreciate
for being
the warm welcome.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you being willing to jump on. I feel like we found each other on TikTok. I want to say it was TikTok.
Yes, yep. That's the platform that I met you on. I saw your a video of your podcast came across my feed, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. Because the one thing that gets forgotten is how important the dispatchers are. So I thought, wow, what an amazing opportunity to promote some mental health awareness and grab that side of the thing that everyone forgets, that who's the first person that takes the call. So you guys are the forgotten heroes in there. So I want to make sure we raise awareness for you guys too. So
heck yeah, excited. we really appreciate that. Well, how the heck did you get into public safety?
Oh, well, I'm an old man now, but back in 2004, 2005, I went and got my EMT basic, which is like the very basic medic thing. And then I got a family and realized I needed to do a little bit more. So I got a job with the Newport News Fire Department, and I've been there since the end of 2006, beginning of 2007. And throughout that time, I've become a paramedic and a whole lot of other things. But yeah, that's how I got started. I've always sort of had a passion for being out there doing things, trying to help people. So that's
And what made you interested in even just jumping into the EMT side of things? Because I don't want to touch it or smell it type of gal. So
yeah, I get it.
what got you interested in it?
So my mother was a nurse, and she was a
Mhm.
volunteer EMT in the county that I grew up in. So I was raised with her leaving the house at odd hours when her pager would go off. Um, and in a rural community, the volunteers are what keeps it going. So I saw that my entire life. Um, so my mother was a nurse and a medic. I got two sisters that were both medics. So it just sort of felt right, I guess, to become a medic. Uh,
Sort of a
the
family
fireman
affair,
side is
huh?
completely different, though. That's an extra bonus. But
Very cool. Well, what was it like for you in the beginning? Obviously, you had some exposure through your family, which is awesome because
mhm.
sometimes folks get into this line of work, whether they're in the field or answering calls, and they have no exposure. Was it everything you thought it would be because of your exposure to it, or was it like completely different?
Well, it's a lot more. It's a lot. No one ever talks about when you're applying or you're going out to learn this job. They tell you that they can be hard sometimes, but they don't really you don't really know until you experience some of those things. I mean, sure, from the dispatch side, some of those really tragic calls that you've gotten, um, nobody really prepares you for those things. I'm like I said, I'm getting to be a little older now. When I came in to the service, nobody feelings were left at home. Mental health wasn't talked about. It was it was actually if you showed weakness, you were shunned. So
Mm.
you kept it all in. You filled your box up, and then hopefully at one day or another you retire and you be able to make it. So nowadays I've noticed a trend that mental health has become more of a an okay to talk about kind of thing. And yeah, it was a little bit more difficult when I first got in. Of course, and now I'm sounding like an old guy because I'm like, oh yeah, when I was young. But no, it was good. The medic stuff, I kind of understood how to do it. I just didn't know what came with it. Sleepless nights,
Mhm.
um, hard calls, things like that. So
Mhm. And I think you're speaking to something that is true. I mean, even in the last 6 years of me being in this field, I've seen such a shift
mhm,
in acknowledging the things that we haven't been talking about and that we need to talk about. Implementation of peer supports being foundational in majority of our
mhm,
but still being needed in a lot of the departments as well. Ooh,
sure.
yeah, seeing that shift over the
Mhm.
years that you have, what does it look like for you seeing that shift happen?
Well, we're starting to chip away at the stigma
Mm,
of mental health being a disease or something that's not help that you can't help somebody with that's uncurable.
mm,
Everyone suffers. People suffer differently. Majority of us in the first responder realm are tough people. We're type A type people. We hide all that suffering. What I've seen is a trend where now it's okay to not be okay.
mm,
And really, the push to change that mindset or get rid of that stigma is through um, the resources that like your podcast, our group coming out there and having a grown man saying, "Hey, it's okay to cry," being
mm,
transparent and letting other people know it's okay, man. If I can do it, and if I'm okay with saying these are the troubles I've had, and these are the traumas that I've had, and this is how I deal with it, I can help that next person, and the stigma will go away when
mhm,
we let everybody know it's okay.
mhm,
We're human. before we're a dispatcher, before we're a fireman, before we're a paramedic and a police officer, we're human, and humans have emotions and we feel things. Um, it's okay to be a tough guy, but it's also okay not to be okay. And that's one of the biggest things that we push and I push out there is it's okay to hurt and suffer. Just and it's actually better to be transparent about it because you allow people in to help you and you also help the person next to you that might be suffering as well. So
It is so true. I just actually did a keynote in Kansas, and the premise was, your voice, your superpower is your superpower, and to tell your
mhm,
story. I think too often in life and in general, and especially in any field that you're in first responder world, we kind of get caught up in the, my trauma versus your trauma. Like, well, why is that bothering you? I took a call like that
mhm,
and it wasn't bad for me, or, vice versa. And then we don't tell our stories and we don't say things bother us because we are worried about the judgment or the questioning of why it's bothering you. Um,
mhm.
and so during my keynote, I made folks kind of gradually share things. And then it ended up being, we wrote anonymously on an index card a, a incident or trauma or, kind of whatever anyone was comfortable writing and sharing. And then we passed the cards around to each other. So you put it on paper and then you put it out to the world and it ended up at someone else's table and the table shared it. And you just kind of realize like we're all kind of dealing with similar things and we have no
Yeah,
freaking
absolutely.
idea.
Yeah, we don't know other people's journeys,
Mhm.
unless they talk about it. What I've noticed by reaching out and doing these podcasts, it's uncomfortable for me because I'm not really great at like podcasts. But what I've realized is every podcast I go on, someone shares a story with me about their mental health journey. And so in the end, I really hope that what ends up happening is people will watch these podcasts, hopefully, or listen to them and say, wow, man, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to struggle. And I'm going to reach out and get some help. And then, of course, the other side of our stuff is providing the resources. Um, yeah, and when we get into it a little bit later about how we started, we talk about how we went from just being an idea to talking about it to being physical. Like we want to physically help people. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, great
Yeah.
questions though.
And I think that what we can get caught up in as well is like wanting to change the world. We want
Hmm.
to impact the world in such a big way. But the reality is we're impacting many worlds. And
Sure,
when you impact one person's world, that just creates this ripple effect and this ability to impact so
sure,
many others that we're not even realizing.
sure. There's an old adage about, it's the shade of a tree you won't ever sit under. So, like, by me helping the first responder to my left, and he or she's able to, you know, get better and be healthier, then their children might grow up to be a first responder that saves a baby who ends up being the president. I mean,
Ah.
it's unlimited amount of opportunity here, and we're doing some great things. And it's that ripple effect you talk about. I'll be
Mhm.
long gone before some of this stuff, pans out, but at least we're trying to
Yeah.
do good now.
It's true. I actually just like had a realization yesterday. I was talking to my fiance and I was like, well, in 10 years, there's going to be a group of people who are in this field, in this line of work, because they utilize the Raspy Dispatcher's resources. Like that's
100%.
crazy. There's going to be like a generation that was created from the things that we're doing now. And
Yeah,
it's just from having these
absolutely.
conversations.
Yeah, I hope that one, if nothing else, one person hears this conversation and gets some help, or at least knows that they're important and people love them. So
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Well, what is Beyond the Badge Paranormal?
Well, so Beyond the Badge Paranormal was just an idea, sort of a joke. And initially, I've
Isn't it
always liked
funny
the
how all that
paranormal.
starts?
I tell you, well, yeah, and whatever religious beliefs you have, I think certain things happen for a reason. So I had this crazy idea one day that I needed a hobby because I noticed my mental health struggling, and I didn't have an outlet. So I thought, you know what? I've always been into this paranormal stuff. Why don't I create my own little group and we'll go out and scare ourselves? And I thought, well, why don't we? At first, I need to find some crazy friends that want to join the group, and that's not that easy actually. To tell people, hey, let's go spend the night at a haunted place. You would think it'd be easier, but it really isn't. So I found my rookie at the station, and I said, hey, we're going to watch a bunch of ghost shows tonight, and then this weekend we're going to go out and spend the night in the haunted woods and try to catch some ghosts. And so the idea started with that.
Mhm.
And then I realized being out there, one, I'm forgetting about the day-to-day stress of the job. I'm pushing myself through barriers, fear, which I equate to sort of standing on the edge of the bridge and bungee jumping. Now, I'm never going to do that. But when you push yourself through this fear wall, you feel like you've accomplished something. You get blood flow again. And I don't know, you just feel different. You feel good. And one of the things I said too is during my time of depression, I lost feeling nothing. I felt nothing. I had no emotions other than sadness. So for me to feel something was amazing. So when I was in a haunted building and I had to walk down a hallway and I was terrified, I could feel that fear running through my body.
Mhm.
And that exhilaration was awesome. It's like alternative therapy. It like woke me back up and the fellowship with my friends and stuff like that. So I realized after being out there a couple times doing that little ghost hunting fake stuff that we initially were, because we were just going out there with like a cell phone. I mean, we really weren't an official group. Uh, Realized, man, what if I created a group called Beyond the Badge Paranormal and we invited only first responders, and then we took that platform and said, hey, you want to get away from the job for a few hours? Come with us, fellowship, hang out in the woods or hang out in these haunted buildings, get that same feeling. You'll love it. And it's really fun, right? And so I got a few people, a few vulnerable, gullible people to say, yeah, I'll go with you. And um, so that was the transitioning from an idea to kind of making it a little bit more real. And then while we were doing that, as a group, we started thinking like, man, we put one video out on YouTube and it had a couple thousand people watched it. I'm thinking, this is the worst video that's ever been created. And 2,000 people watched this thing. So I said, well, what if we are able to get one of those 2,000 people to not commit suicide?
Mhm.
And they were, even if they're not a first responder, if they just watched it, whatever. So I said, what if we started talking about mental health? And so that's how that started.
Mhm.
And then I decided one day I'm going to reach out to a charity and make this a physical thing, because
Mhm.
instead of me just talking about it, what if I was able to promote a resource that provides physical help to first responders? So I reached out to the Survive First Foundation out of Florida, and Doug and Karen they're just the most amazing people. And I love their foundation and how it runs. And they were ecstatic to join the team. And I told them initially, I can't make you any money. Uh, we don't have very many followers,
Mhm.
but I'm going to put your logo on everything we do. I'm just going to put it out there continuously. And that's all they wanted. They were like, yeah, if we could help one person, then we've succeeded. So that's how that started. And yeah, we've just sort of built from there. We've done. We're getting ready to release our 10th episode. We used the platform on YouTube for the episodes as a way to reach people. We
Mhm.
use our TikTok to reach people. We post a pretty good balance of paranormal and mental health,
Mhm.
which seems weird, but um, I got to keep it out there. Got to keep people watching. The sad part about it is the paranormal videos get a lot of views, and the mental health doesn't get as much. So that always breaks my heart, but that's okay. We're
Mhm.
still trying our best, and yeah, so that's how that is Beyond the Badge. We're just a bunch of first responders. We go out, we spend the night in haunted places, we travel around, we make YouTube videos, we use our social media platform to reach as many people as we can. I try to reach as many people on TikTok and things to say, hey, can I come on your show? And at least say, hey, look, first responders are important. And yeah, that's it. That's who we are, really. Just a most beautiful people, and that I have on my team. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I mean, I'm always amazed when I have folks come onto the show on how they could take something that they're passionate about or that excites them and then turn it into a resource or turn it into, what the Raspy Dispatcher has grown from like a blog in my head to this platform. And that's really how ideas like Beyond the Badge Paranormal like come to fruition. It just becomes like it's a silly thought. Let's call it the Raspy Dispatcher. Like, hey, let's go hang out with ghosts. And then it just kind of
Yeah.
grows into this thing that is helping people. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's really awesome. I love it.
So you guys have the YouTube platform and you guys put out like full episodes of your
Sure.
guys's
Yeah. Yep. They're full
explorations?
episodes. Yeah. So yeah. Wherever we go, we typically we put out. It's going to be anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour long. They're not. I mean, they're not. We have a very minimal budget. It's close to the zero mark. Uh, so the videos are going to be what they are. They're not horrible.
Mhm.
Um, but they are cool because like someone told me it's sort of like the Blair Witch Project. It's like raw.
The
There's no
vibe. I
special
like
effects. You can watch stuff on the big channels and they're going to edit things. They're going to create ghost things happening. Whatever we catch is what we catch, and whatever
yeah.
we don't. And the interactions that we have during the videos are all real. We're goofballs. We're normal people. We don't, we're not perfect, and we just leave a lot of it in the video. We're just normal people, and that's what I love about it. They're just raw, regular videos. They do get better as we progress. I mean, I'm learning how to edit, but I have no budget. I have zero budget, so it's like I'm gonna do what I can. But they are getting better. Uh, yeah, and I'm gonna tell you something. It's really wild. We have caught some amazing evidence, even though
Mm.
we have $0 budget and we're the Blair Witch style. We have some of the best evidence. If you go to our YouTube or our webpage, we have an evidence section,
Oh.
and it's insane the stuff that some random people like us can catch. And we're not even Hollywood or Discovery Channel or anything like that. We're just real. And I always joke about the ghost feel bad for us because we're coming with all our trauma. And they always come out and say, let's give these guys just a little. So they keep on going. So I'm really thankful for that.
What is the craziest thing or some of the craziest things like you've discovered in this process or maybe some of the evidence that you guys have come across?
So I'm going to start with I'm a skeptical believer. And what that
Mm.
means is I think ghosts are real, but I don't think every knock is a ghost. So I want to prove that it's actually real. Every dust particle that flies by is not a ghost. Most likely it's a dust or a bug. So I'm going to put that out there right off the bat. When saying that, I can tell you as real as you are right now in your studio, ghosts are real because, or whatever it is real because I have seen things, heard things, and smelled things that I can't explain. And from hearing actual voices in the room with you, talking to you, which is really weird, um, to seeing full body apparitions moving around a building and I'm just my jaw's to the ground because I'm like, well, how am I going to explain that? There's no way, there's no environmental reason why there's a person shadow moving around. So we were in well, one of the coolest things was we were at Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky. It's really one of the most haunted places in the country, if not the world. It was an old tuberculosis hospital
Mhm.
in the early 1900s. So we have documented 6,000 people passed away there. It's a real sad place because so many people passed away during that tuberculosis epidemic. But while we were on the fourth floor, we were sitting in the dark and we had one of our little devices out there and we were chatting with what we could eventually figure out a male spirit. And I saw a full body, what I can assume, I don't know if it's man or woman, obviously, because it's not that detailed, but it's a shadow person step out of the doorway behind the device,
Mm.
stare at us, step back into the room. And for me, it was gold mine. I'm like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I wasn't afraid or anything because I really like this stuff. But I was like shocked. I'm like, that's the coolest thing I've ever actually seen. Um, so that was really neat.
See, I would have
That
been
was
out
actually
the
the
door already.
first. Yeah, no.
Would have been,
And
whoop.
I was really excited. And the thing that broke my heart was we decided at midnight to shut the cameras off to have
Mm.
personal experiences. It's the first time and only time that this group has ever done that. And that's the one time I saw a full body apparition, and I was like, I am broken right now. But still, I have that memory. I know it's real. I was
Mm.
there. We have caught, if you watch some of the evidence, we've caught some amazing audio of things talking. I don't know where the voices are coming from, but
No.
we've caught some amazing stuff. The last episode we just did was we were in historic Williamsburg, Virginia, and we were at
Mm.
a 1700s mansion, the Powhatan Manor House. And in the middle of the night at 1 a.m., we catch this little girl's voice saying, "It's me," really loud. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's no little girls there. It was three of us. We're
So
all
there's an age
adults.
requirement to be a part of this group.
There is, yeah, absolutely. But I can tell you there was no 5-year-old little girls there. Now, what makes it creepy, what makes it creepy is we had spent the first 2 hours you were there communicating with a little girl named Mary, who
Mm.
supposedly passed away at some time in the 1700s, and she was around between 4 and 6 years old. So to hear her voice was wild. And if you go to that, if you go to our YouTube page or our YouTube channel, and you go on there and look for part two of the Powhatan Manor, about middle of the way, you'll see a place where it talks about a little girl's voice being captured. It's craziest thing you've ever heard. Um,
Mm.
there's no little girls there, I can tell you that right now. And then she flickered the lights on a couple times. So I told her before we left, I said, Mary, if you don't mind, make these lights come on and off while we're in the basement. And then we left the second floor with cameras everywhere. We left. And during the time we were in the basement, you see the lights flickering on and off.
Mm.
And she did exactly what we asked her to do. And I mean, there's no environmental reason to be able to disprove that. You can't debunk it. It is what it is. So
Mhm.
it goes to
How do you guys
very
choose?
real.
How do you guys choose your locations? Do you just do some research and then
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
votes or pull straws or
Yeah.
what does it look
So
like?
yeah, so we have a few folks in our group. We call them like the core part of the group that make a lot of the decisions. So obviously, it's the group that I created, but I like to share the power. I don't really want to have it all.
Mhm.
So there's myself, Jessica Webb, and her husband Randy Webb. He's a fireman in the city of Williamsburg. She's an EMT, but she's also a psychic medium, which is really
Mm.
nice. In addition to our team, she's able to provide us a whole lot of historical information that we would never know. So the
Yeah.
three of us really we look at the calendar, we kind of figure out, budget wise where we're going to go, and we sort of make loose plans on where we're going to go, and then we start kind of as we get closer to those months, a few months out, we'll book those places. A lot of those big places require quite a bit of money, though. Like
Mhm.
Waverly, places like that are usually right around $1,000 a night for us to rent it
Wow.
for the 8 to 10 hours over there. So it's kind of expensive.
Mhm.
Um, Plus the drive and all that stuff too. But yeah, that's how we pick our places. And we have a couple local places that we can get into um, much easier, much cheaper when
Mhm.
we're trying to fill in the holes in the calendar. So,
It's such an interesting part of it. Like I told you before we jumped, I love a good ghost adventure show, which
hmm
oddly I can fall asleep with it on. So I don't know what that says about me, but but you don't think about that aspect of it, like booking the place, going and making sure it's available, getting the
it's a lot.
permission. You don't think about that aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We want to do everything legally. Um, it's a process. So like I will literally get on I will look up their webpage. So wherever location we want to go, or I'll find who a phone number and I'll call and have to book it, pay for it. We basically renting the place for the night,
mhm,
and it's
mhm,
just us. There's no one else there. They lock us in there, or they all leave, and it's our place for the night. So Waverly Hills is a 5-story sanatorium that's the size of a full size like mega hospital,
Yeah.
completely ours for the night. I mean, it's pretty cool,
Mhm.
really, to have an entire building to yourself. It's nothing wrong with that. We love it.
Yeah, and to be able to try do you, like, try, like, different again, this is from my extensive knowledge watching ghost shows, are you into, like, all the different, like, gadgets that folks are utilizing, or do you have a
Sure.
favorite thing you guys use?
Yeah, so we have all the equipment that you see on TV. We have the SLS cameras and all that fancy stuff. The best equipment is actually just your ears and your eyes and the feelings that you get. Really, that's the best way. But we have all
Mhm.
the equipment. We have sensory meters and all kinds of things, so we can do a lot. We have the capabilities to do a lot. We have night vision cameras and all kinds of stuff. Um, yeah, but the best equipment is really just being quiet and feeling the energy change in a room. Um, I watched ghost shows my entire life, and I always thought there was a little BS involved with what they're doing, and there probably is. But then you would see some of these people say, "Wow, did you feel the cold air move in, or a cold spot, or do you feel the energy change, or the static electricity?" Well, I will tell you, um, that's exactly how it feels. You can
Mhm.
be in a room and it feels like you're in the room right now, like everything's good, and all of a sudden you'll feel static electricity, and you'll feel static electricity come in. You'll feel cold spots, and you will become affected by whatever's in there. So you can get
Mm.
upset stomachs, so you can get headaches. I mean, it's crazy. And I don't have any idea what's going on. I'm not an expert at this. I drink beer and hang out with my friends overnight at places, so I do not understand any of this, except I know it exists. So,
Mhm,
and I'll
mhm,
tell you, you were talking about how you can fall asleep to this kind of stuff. What's really crazy
mm,
is folks that are first responders tend to really like this kind of stuff. They don't always want to
mm,
go, but they're kind of into it. And I don't know if there's a connection between the what we deal with every day
mm,
and
mhm,
this darkness and this unknown kind of stuff and the adrenaline that can come with watching something scary. And I wonder
mm.
if there's a connection to that because, you know, um, we seem to all kind of like the same thing. We don't all, like I said, you may not want to go, but you definitely like watching it.
I
So,
like an exit plan.
yeah,
But it's true. I mean, I definitely think it's kind of like the I don't know, Dispatch, we always make fun of it, and we're like we're at work watching true crime at the same time we're, like, working a pursuit. Like, it's just like, why are we watching true
yeah,
crime?
yeah,
We're
right,
literally in a Dateline episode sometimes, so but it is that
right,
I don't know, you kinda lean to what's familiar and what's normal, air quotes, to,
absolutely,
the world we're in, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
totally interesting. Do you guys
yeah.
have a
I
next
just,
big place you go on?
yeah, yeah. So, I'm putting out an episode on October 13th just for Halloween. And it's a little darker than anything we've done, unfortunately. It does deal with a little bit of the dark side of things. Not because that's what I wanted it to be, but that's what we ended up getting ourselves into. That experience. It's different than anything we put out so far. It's during the daytime. It's an experiment that we did for 45. Well, we actually did the experiment for like 2 hours,
Mm,
but I can only make a video certain so long. What
mm,
you're going to see is two psychic mediums under a an experiment called the Estes method. And if you're familiar with ghost adventures and things like that, that's when you see the folks put the blindfolds on and the earmuffs or the
mm,
noise canceling, and they
mm,
plug it into the static box. And then the
mm,
people on the exterior ask questions. The people listening to the box say what they hear through the box, but the
mm,
people under can't hear the question. So the idea is if I ask you the question, you can't hear me, but you give me the answer. That proves there's some weird stuff going on. So we took two psychic mediums, we put them both under, and then we put them in two separate rooms in the house. And I stood in the middle and I asked questions. And for the entire video, you'll see them answer each other back and forth, and you see them answer our questions. And it's actually one of the creepiest things I've ever experienced in my life. The entire time I'm there, I'm thinking, what is happening? And then because of the reason we were actually there is because someone had done some sort of ritual,
mm,
satanic or some kind of ritual that we don't mess with we don't ever mess with that. That's not our thing. But
mm,
they actually invited us to come to help them try to
mm.
figure out what the heck is happening. So I put these two women under an experiment, and for the entire time, it turns really bad. They say terrible things, and I was like, man, I hate to have to make a video about this, but people have to see how crazy this is, because and
Yeah.
you'll see
Heck
it. And
yeah.
if you haven't checked it out yet, if you go to our webpage, there's trailers for it.
Mm,
They're kind of spooky, but it's going to be really scary.
heck yeah.
We won't
And
do
we'll make
dark
sure to
things
put
like
out
that.
yeah, we'll make sure to put out like the trailer as well on our social media so
Okay,
folks
yeah,
can
yeah. So on our
get to it
YouTube
when it
channel, the
does come
trailer's
out.
there, so you can have it, do whatever
Awesome.
you want with it. I mean, we don't do dark things like that. The one thing we said when we first started this group is we'd never go hunting evil, and we'd never play with Ouija boards and do anything
Mm,
like that, because we don't. That's not. We're for mental health. We don't want to make our mental health worse by going after bad stuff. So this was an opportunity and an experience that we had that I thought people needed to see, just to know that there's the dark side of things too. And
yeah.
then that's it comes out October 13th, by the way. It's gonna be weird, but you'll you'll like I think you'll like it.
I'm so excited. I mean, that's kind of what happens when you start getting into things and people start finding you and reaching out is you kind of start branching into stuff that you're not really, and then you find your line, right? You find your
Yeah,
boundaries, you
yeah,
find what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. Um,
right.
but it probably
And the
speaks
place
a
that
lot.
we went is actually where a murder occurred back in 1979.
Jeez.
There's a murder of a young girl named Melissa, and
Mm,
so we actually have been there before. She was murdered in 79. We actually catch her voice on an episode at the very end.
mm.
Um, we catch her screaming. If you go to our webpage, you can hear her scream, "Please help." Yeah, it's really sad.
Wow.
But but this was a completely different experience we had there. Um,
Yeah. But
Sorry
I
to
mean,
interrupt you. I just want to make
no,
sure you know
no, no,
why
no,
we were
no,
there.
you're fine. You're fine. Um, but I think it does kind of speak to our mental health, right? Is like when we have these big experiences that we're not ready for, like
Mhm.
you go into this, you go into work, you answer the call, you respond to the call,
Mhm.
and you just kind of never know what's going to happen when it's going to happen. And then
Yeah.
you go out to this scene, to investigate, and it turns dark. And that wasn't the intention, and it
Mhm.
kind of shifted to that. And it's like, well, what do
Sure.
we do now? How do we take care of ourselves? How do we pivot? And I think that's kind of all speaking to the stuff you guys are trying to promote.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, there's the ghost hunting thing, and it's scary, it's fun. Video YouTube videos are all fun. I mean, it's fun to watch ghost stories, and you might fall asleep. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. That's why I'm putting it on the webpage. Like people who fall asleep during the videos, just want to see the evidence, just go there. It's easier.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
subscriptions help because that helps us reach more people and stuff like that. So we have the ghost hunting side of things, and I love that. That's like awesome. But
Mm,
really, the big push for me is the mental health thing. Like I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think is like, what can I do? What kind of TikToks can I put out today that help that message, that get us
mm,
the people to watch so we can promote more mental health awareness. And I just see it every day on the job, people struggling,
yeah.
and I just want to help people. And I was so thankful that I was able to come on your show, because I don't think dispatchers ever get the recognition that they deserve. I mean, you guys are we hear you on the radio all the time, and you guys, we don't know what y'all are going through, but
Mm,
you guys are the first line.
mm,
And, you know, you can't even go to Chick-fil-A and get a discount. They don't even care about you guys. Like no one cares about the dispatchers. And that's
mm,
horrible, because you're the first people that answer the call.
mhm.
And if it doesn't get taken care of the correct way initially, nothing else happens like it should. And the thing I've noticed from about the dispatchers that, breaks my heart is you guys have to take the call. You got to try to figure out how to help this person, which resources they need. And then the call is done. You never get the resolution. You're
Mhm.
always left on a cliffhanger. And that has to beat away at your psyche, right? And so that I think about that often, about how amazing these dispatchers are, and they never get a chance to find out, well, what happened. And our dispatchers will actually call the station and be like, hey, how did it go? And they're just
Mhm.
looking for that closure. And I just think you guys need more recognition, which is why we include you guys in our, when we talk about it, it's dispatchers are definitely a part of it. Nurses, we include nurses in there,
Mhm.
um, because I think ER nurses and first respond the nurses that are any nurse is included, but especially those ones at the emergency room. I mean, they're getting the stuff that we're bringing to them. We're all part of the chain, the
Yeah.
chain of like you see CPR chain. Well, we're the chain of first responders, and we have to all take care of each other. So I have a special spot in my heart for dispatchers because I know what you guys are going through, and I'm gonna tell you, I've been impressed by some dispatchers before too. The way y'all handle these complex calls and scenes, I couldn't do it. There's no way. So you guys are amazing.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, everything you said is true. I think the hardest part and the things that we don't acknowledge enough is like I answer the call, I work the call, and now the call is in, whoever I send to its hands. But then now I'm answering another call.
Yeah.
Whereas, our folks who are responding to the scene, you might be tied up on that call for an hour, 2 hours, your
Hmm.
whole shift if it's a severe incident, right? Well,
Sure.
I'm still answering call after call after call, and like
Hmm.
and again, it's not a mine is worse than yours, or it's
No.
just different, right? And we just need to
Sure. Hundred
acknowledge the
percent.
difference and the way the amount of calls that I'm receiving versus what you actually go out there, see, and put your hands on, like the trauma is all the same. It's
It
just
is. Yep.
dumped on us a
Hundred
little
percent.
differently.
Sure. Yeah. And I feel so bad because the next call that comes in, you have to perform at 100%.
Mhm.
And you
Yeah.
can't show that emotion on the next call because that person could need you to be strong and put together so you can help them. And so that's your box is going to get filled up so much faster. I
Mhm.
go on a bad call. Uh, yes, I could take another call right away, but a lot of times we have the opportunity nowadays, at least we didn't used to.
Mhm.
And nowadays, you know, it's known that mental health is a problem. And a lot of times, if I go on a call where there's an unfortunate, a child passes away or something, they're going to
Mhm.
put my truck out of service for a couple hours so we
Mhm.
can talk about it. A
Mhm.
dispatcher takes a call where a child drowns in a pool.
Mhm.
They're finished with the call and they get another call that could be, an old lady husband who's now having a heart attack. I mean, your
Yeah.
box will fill up so much faster. When do you release and unload that box?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and who do you go to help you unload that box? That's a huge thing, and we got to keep you guys in our minds and in our we got to keep thinking about ways to help y'all too, because the main focus right now is police and fire and
Mm.
EMS, but nurses, dispatchers, they're just put off to the side. So
Yeah,
I
another
don't
group
I
that
don't
I
know how to.
got
Go ahead. You're good.
Oh, I was gonna say another group that I think we forget about often is like our CSI folks, like the folks who come out to these scenes, these horrific scenes, and
Hmm.
have to
Yeah.
bag it, take pictures of it, and make sure that
Yeah.
evidence is collected so, justice can be served and all that. Like those folks, I think, get missed quite a bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I can't sit still, right? Like I can never stop doing things. And that's one of the things that people in my group will tell you. I annoy them on a daily basis about ideas like, hey, we should do this. If I had an unlimited amount of money,
Mhm.
we'd be doing some crazy things. Because I keep thinking about it. And I don't know why these ideas come to my head, but like they always do. And so a couple weeks ago, I had this thought, well, why don't we create a nonprofit and do
Mhm.
something for the community, make it more real too? Like let's create something. Let's just create one and let's do something, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is like, well, how do we help? How do we do something that's beneficial to the community? And one of the things that we could think about doing and talking to you and really thinking about it throughout the course of a week or so with your questions and the things you wanted me to kind of think about was I don't think there's a resource in my area that helps dispatchers. I don't think there is
Mhm.
one. So
Mhm.
what if we created some sort of nonprofit that provided at least some sort of resources to those dispatchers? What if it could be as easy as a newsletter and a little thing where we work with Survive First or another foundation to say, hey guys, when y'all are struggling, these are some of the things you can do. And we provide some training to them and their supervisors. And so that's an idea that, I've been thinking about for a few days about how can we add dispatchers and give them the physical help they need. I don't know of any actual physical help they get. I know we do. We get plenty of people that want to help us. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna look into doing a little more of that.
Heck yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we need those things.
yeah,
I mean,
because
we
you
do
guys
get
need it.
lumped in. We get lumped in with folks if you're lucky enough to get lumped in. I know there's some departments who dispatchers are still not even included in debriefings and things like that. I mean, we've
Yes.
definitely seen a shift, but we're mid pivot. We're just starting to swing, you know,
Well,
and
I'm
acknowledging
gonna
mental
start.
health.
I'm gonna start a little bit of a change here in my area. I'm a believer that anybody's capable of doing anything. So, no, I'm not. I don't really take no for an answer usually. So, what I'll probably end up doing is trying to push this little thing. I'll communicate with a lot of my superiors in my department. I know my department. One thing I will. I mean, my department's an amazing fire department. My administration is so supportive of us mental health wise. We have some amazing chiefs up there that really care about us, and I love the fact that um, we are taking the lead in the area on mental health.
Amazing.
It would be very easy for me to go to my superiors and say, "Hey, I want to talk to the dispatcher who's in charge of dispatch, and I want to talk to them, and I want to kind of start working on adding these people into our debriefings because they need it."
Mm-hmm.
And if that requires, giving that dispatcher some time off during the couple hours to regroup and get their stuff together, then that's what we need to figure out. But I bet you $1 million I'm gonna make a change around here. And so Beyond the Badge Paranormal is a paranormal group, but we're more than that. We have a goal and a mission. We make content for a cause. That's our big motto. We make content for a cause. We don't do it for just look, there's 1,000 paranormal groups out there. If you go on TikTok right now,
Yeah.
uh, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of paranormal groups.
Mhm.
It's cookie cutter, man. I promise you, you wouldn't know one from the other. They all
Mhm.
do the same thing. They want to all be like they are on TV. And no, nothing wrong with that. We're not going to be that way. We've said that from the beginning. We want to be different. Um, we want to have a mission, a cause, do what we do it professionally, have a good time, and make a difference while we can. So that's what Beyond the Badge Paranormal is really all about.
That's amazing. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give someone who is considering a career as a first responder in general, whether it's dispatch, firefighter, EMS, nurse, so on and so forth? What advice would you give them?
So if they're thinking about doing it, that means that they've been exposed to it, or it's already on their mind. And I would encourage them to do it. I wouldn't. Don't let the fear of something of the unknown keep you from doing it. Now I know that sounds kind of funny coming from a paranormal group. Don't let the fear of the
I like
unknown
it.
keep you
I
from
think
going
that
in there.
might be a new
Yeah.
tagline if it's not one
Yeah.
already.
Right. So I would say take the plunge, walk down that scary hallway, become a first responder. Um, you need a good support group. So surround yourself with people that are going to love you and support you because you're going to need it throughout your career. Be transparent about your pain and also know it's okay to not be okay. Um, I do better with my mental health when I'm open about my struggles. So if I'm at the firehouse and I don't tell anybody I'm struggling, I struggle a lot more because I'm keeping it in. I'm not getting love and support because they see me struggling, but they don't really know what to say. But when I come out and say, "Man, I'm having a really hard day," you know, I'm really struggling. I'm feeling terrible. I need to talk to you. I've been thinking about these things and thinking about these things, and I'm scared. And so my teammates, my family at the firehouse, they just surround you. And the same thing with your dispatch family. They surround you. They tell you, "Hey, you're loved." And that's the big thing. We're you and I'm not a professional therapist. It's not about that. It's about telling someone, "Hey, you are important. Tomorrow needs you. We love you, and it's okay, and we're going to be there, and we're going to help you through it." And that's such a big thing when you're in a deep depression or you're in a mental health crisis, is knowing that, yeah, it's not going to get better overnight. But people love me, and we want to make people know in their heads that, hey, tomorrow really does need you. I need you as a dispatcher to be here because there's a kid that's going to need a dispatcher to walk them through CPR instructions for their family member.
Mhm.
And if you're not here, that can't be done. And so that's how important you are.
Mhm.
That's really super important to let people know how important they are. So, um, yeah, and that's it really. And then
That's
find some
amazing.
sort of outlet. Leave the dispatch staying at home or at work. When you leave dispatch, you need to leave it. You need to
Mhm.
leave it there and do something completely different. Separate yourself. Find an outlet. If you want to jump off that bridge, you go right ahead. I'll watch it from the distance. But if you want to go haunting, searching for haunted places and stuff, go for it.
Yeah.
But find an outlet.
Yeah. It's so true. We have to leave work at work and be people outside of our first responder roles, and whether that's, you know, hunting ghosts on the weekend with the friends
Right.
or, jumping on a podcast. I mean, we are
Yeah.
are responsible for taking care of ourselves outside of work. I'm about to go to a Broadway show after this. Like, you have to do
That's
things that
awesome.
make you excited outside of all of our first responder nonsense, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So is the group something that people, if they wanted to meet up with you guys and join in this in person on an adventure, that people can like apply for? Or is this
So
more
yeah,
of
they so all they got to do is we it's really tricky with paranormal having a paranormal group is how many people you can let in your group because if you go somewhere you can't have 50 people walking around.
that's
So
true.
so what we decided to put a cap on it is we right now we have 10 people in our group and that's the cap. So
Okay.
we're not accepting members, but what we do is if you're in the area and you want to go on a ghost hunt,
Mhm.
you reach out to us. We have a on our webpage, there's a contact page, and you can actually send us a message and say, hey, or any actual social media account, it doesn't really matter, but the webpage is the easiest. And say, hey, I'm a first responder and I'd really like to go on a ghost hunt. And then sort of get and it has on there to give me sort of a time frame because I mean, I gotta book this place, right? So it's not exactly easy. Um, then we'll work out taking you. We want you to be able to go and experience that fun about it, and um
Mhm.
yeah, we would definitely bring it. We just can't take new members because we would have now if we get more popular, we're gonna have so many people want to be members. It'd
When?
be
When we get more popular.
yeah, we've actually done pretty well in a calendar year. We've only been together since October 23 and
Wow.
we're doing fine. So,
Yeah, heck yeah.
um, yeah, we're making it. So, that website is, I like it because I created it and, I, but I'm really proud of it because I wanted to make a website that had a little bit of everything.
Mm,
I wanted it to be a website where if you're an enthusiast and you like paranormal videos and stuff like that and evidence and history, you could go and you could watch evidence, you could see the places we've been, you can learn the history. And if you're the kind of person that says, "Hey, I want to take the next step and go investigate," if you click on some of the links, it'll take you to their web pages of those actual places, and you can book your own adventure.
very
If you
cool.
want to take the if you want to take the next step and you want to say, "I want to start my own group," I've created an entire page where I teach you about all the equipment. There's videos and links to how to buy the equipment and how they work. And there's also an entire page on how to build your own paranormal video cameras so you can have night vision and all that with links to Amazon to buy everything there.
Heck yeah.
And then if you're on the other side of things and you just want to help the mental health side, there's an entire page of for the survive first, and all the links and everything. And then somewhere in the middle there, you can actually meet the team, the Beyond the Badge team. I have an entire gallery and or an entire meet the team page, and it's got all headshots of all of us. And we're working on adding all the videos. So what we did is I didn't want to just to be a headshot. I wanted a personalized video. So when you click my name, it'll bring up a video, and it'll actually me talking to you about how the group affects me and how much it's helped me through my mental health journey. So each member of our team is creating their own personal video so people can click it and see their transparency. And I thought that was really important to be a little more personal to people and say, hey, I struggle too. And we have females, we have males, we kind of cover the whole spectrum. So that website's really important to me because I think it allows people to really get a grasp on who we are as a team.
That's so cool, and I love the fact that you're not gatekeeping, you know what I mean? Like, "Here's all the things
Mhm.
that I learned, here's how to make your
Yeah,
process a little easier," and, you know,
sure.
have at it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just, there's room for all of us, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
well,
let
because when I started, I couldn't find any of this information. It was driving me crazy. Like, how do
yeah,
you book a place, you know? But no, I it's not for me to keep here. I can't take it with me when I go.
yeah.
Um, I'm not afraid of someone stealing Beyond the Badge Paranormal. I mean, if you got the audacity to do that, you know what? It'll all go down for you. I ain't worried about it.
Yeah.
What I put the evidence out there, I put the equipment out there, I do all this stuff because, I want people to have some outlet. Remember, the goal, the mission is to provide some sort of outlet. And
Mhm.
if there's a first responder where you're from, are you in California? Is that where you are?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So if there's, let's say, a group in California of first responders, or heck, to make it even awesome is the dispatchers that say, hey, we're going to start our own paranormal group. Maybe you do. Maybe you say, man, you know what? Me and the girls, we're going to go out there. How awesome would that be? But you don't have to do it, from the blank slate. You can say, hey, I'm going to go in there. These are the equipment that they use. Now you have the options to figure that out, like, oh, well, now I know what a REM pod is or whatever and how to buy it and all the things. So, yeah, I want to share that because I want you and every other first responder to have the opportunity to create their own group. You know what?
Yeah.
If there were 10 other Beyond the Badge Paranormals, that's fine too. You know, go for it. Just remember the parent company over here.
Like,
As
you're
long as
the
everybody's
other
happy.
5%, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I want people to live. I want them to be happy. And whatever I got to do that, man. I'm
Yeah.
incredibly blessed. So
Well, this has been amazing, Jeremy. Thank you so much for everything that you
yeah,
do, from your career
thanks.
to creating this awesome platform that's so unique and so different, but still very mission oriented. I love it. I can't wait to go explore all of the evidence. So, if you're listening and you want to check out more, make sure to head to beyondthebadgeparanormal.com, and we'll include all
Hmm.
the links in the bio and whatnot. But check them out on YouTube, TikTok, all the things. And Jeremy, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Man, thank you so much for having me. Again, I love the dispatchers. You guys are awesome. If it was up to me, you'd get the discount at all the Chick-fil-A's and everything too. Um, so I love dispatchers. So that's it. All
Thank you, Jeremy. I'll be right back with you.
right, thanks.
All right, everybody. That was another amazing episode here on Let's Talk Dispatch. Genuinely, I love seeing when people take things that they love and create something awesome with it. And this is certainly one of the first times that I've heard someone creating a first responder paranormal group. And so focused on mental health awareness. It is awesome. BeyondTheBadgeParanormal.com. And again, I'm going to include all the links in the bio. So until next time, stay raspy, everybody. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Dispatch podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the show, or maybe even submitting your own story, you can do all that and more at theraspydispatcher.com. Until next time, stay raspy.